This bell curve gives us a good picture of where most of the population is. That is what typifies population.
Itzhak Bentov approached science from an unusual angle.
These are very, very highly evolved people. We can't even imagine what kind of person that will be.
Blending rigorous engineering with bold, unconventional questions about consciousness and reality.
The nervous system is that thing that gives us the picture of our reality.
Trained as an inventor and biomedical engineer, he made tangible contributions to science.
Ben Bentov is a wonderful, loving, kind man, brave, courteous, true, all the other kind things you can say. The interesting thing about him is that he has, over the years, conducted research into consciousness. The subtitle of his book is The Mechanics of Consciousness, and what we want to try to talk about today is one aspect of it, and that is the evolution of consciousness. Ben, there's probably no theory that has had more impact on Western thinking than the theory of evolution that Darwin came up with in the mid-19th century. And ever since then, all of our thought has been along the ideas that somehow we have evolved as human beings to being who we are today. The question I want to ask you is, where do you see us now in that evolutionary development?
We can say that if we take Darwin's theories as being correct, then we know that we have evolved from the apes towards humans, and now we've finally come to a point where we're humanoid in shape, with vertical spines.
But Bentov's deeper interest lay in understanding how the human mind fits into the structure of the universe.
We're reasonably intelligent. We can push buttons on TV, drive cars, etc., etc. And what I'd like to do, I'd like to draw maybe a little diagram, but don't worry, it's not very scientific. Let me draw what is called a bell curve, which looks somehow like this. It's being used in describing random events. And the way this works is the following, that if we assume now, let's take a following situation. Take a little town that has maybe 1,000 people in it. And we have this great desire to find out what the average height of people in this town is. And therefore we go out with a yardstick and start measuring these people. Well, we find that a very small, very few number of people will be, say, 3 feet tall. And a very, very few of them will be maybe 7 or 8 feet tall.
He treated consciousness not as a byproduct of biology, but as a fundamental phenomenon that could be studied, modeled, and measured.
The bulk of the population will be right somewhere here. That is the average or mean height of these people would be about 5 feet and 6 or 8 inches, something like this. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what we find here is that this bell curve gives us a good picture of where most of the population is. That is what typifies population. We can use this diagram also to describe evolution. The bulk of the population today is this intelligent, more or less intelligent biped, all right? And with a vertical spine, and who pushes the buttons on TV and drives a car, etc., etc. Now, there is some backthrow. That is, there are some people here in this area, very few people who are still gorilla-like. That is, they are hairy. They beat their chest when they see their neighbors and a few other things.
For him, science was incomplete without addressing the observer itself. During his lifetime, Bentov occupied an uneasy space within the scientific community.
And then we have other people who are here in this corner, very few of them, who are very highly developed, because we say that evolution is now pushing mankind in this direction, away from the gorilla types towards the very highly evolved people. At this point, we're here. What's going to happen maybe 1 million years from now, 500,000 years from now? This curve is going to shift. it's going to shift like this. That is, the bulk of the population will be very, very highly evolved. We have gone away altogether from the gorilla types, no more gorillas. And what we have here now is the average man is now the retarded person in evolutionary terms. The bulk of the population is extremely, very, very highly evolved. And the cutting edge of evolution here, these are very, very highly evolved people. We can't even imagine what kind of person that will be.
His engineering work earned respect, but his theories about cosmic consciousness, vibrational reality, and the evolution of awareness were often met with skepticism.
He may not have a physical body at all. What's the habitat, so to speak, of this group here? Well, you just go out and you find them. They're all over the place. The habitat of this group here, what do you think? What do you think you find these people here? Hey?
I suspect that you would find them in universities. You'd find the people who are very bright, people who are in the leading edge of professions. That kind of thing. I mean, it's an intellectual thing, isn't it?
Well, I suggest that you find them in mental hospitals, in nut houses. And the reason for that is that these people, they live in a different reality, in a reality which is very changed, and few of them are adapted to live in this reality. So naturally, they can't function very well. So the only safe place, only good place for them would be the mental hospital, unless they can integrate their different view of reality with their daily lives.
He proposed that the universe oscillates like a resonant system, and that human consciousness is part of that oscillation.
Now, if they can integrate it, then we have people like Newton, like Darwin, like Faraday. These are the so-called geniuses.
The thing that I'm not certain that we have talked about is, what is it that is evolving?
Let's put it this way. The nervous system is the thing that is evolving, and the nervous system is supported by a skeleton of bones and muscles and tissue, etc., etc. Now, the nervous system is that thing that gives us the picture of our realities. That is, our realities, that reality which you see all around you, the flowers and the chairs and the microphones and the teacup, is given to us by our senses.
Yeah.
We don't see light which is beyond UV and beyond infrared. We hear only a limited scale of vibrations, like, for instance, we hear anywhere from 52 to 20,000 maximum.
These ideas challenge strict materialist frameworks and were often categorized as speculative or metaphysical rather than scientific.
In other words, all our senses are limited. So, with these limited senses, we naturally are seeing through a very narrow kind of tube or very narrow slit in the total reality there is. Now, as you're evolving, what happens is that slit opens up more and more and more. So you see more and more of that reality, and we assume that we see different realities. They're not very different realities, but rather a very extended, broad view of one very large reality. The Bible mentions maybe 4 to 6 colors maximum.
Yeah.
That is what people saw just bare maybe 4,000 years ago. Nowadays, we see hundreds and thousands of colors. That is, our visual system has evolved. Our fellow mammals, like cows and horses, see only black and white.
As a result, Bentov remained largely on the fringes of mainstream academia, respected for his inventions, but questioned for his broader conclusions.
Break or whatever it is.
And what you would say is that there's a good chance that kid is seen.
Very good chance that the kid has a spontaneous opening of his senses.
So that the evolution has been rushed up or hurried up?
Yeah. Now, this actually happens. There are techniques to do this. But the Eastern people, the yogis, have developed systems to do this, to push the nervous system rapidly. But it happens very often spontaneously without someone trying to do anything about it. And just happens. And then, naturally, in the olden days, these kinds of things used to be called miracles. And nowadays, there's no more miracles. Well, let's take this.
And
Let's.
yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because you think of, I mean, what you call the spontaneous opening of expanded awareness.
Correct.
Right? I mean, that's sort of a lot of words to say something. But in an earlier time, it was called a miraculous occurrence.
Yeah.
Elevated consciousness.
Right.
You know, a time of great revelation, of
Sure.
God speaking to you.
May I tell you how much I appreciate your asking me to share some of my ideas with you? The title of my address is, If You Find This World Bad, You Should See Some of the Others. The subject of this speech is a topic which has been discovered recently and which may not exist at all. I may be talking about something that does not exist. Therefore, I'm free to say everything or nothing. I can hardly make an error if there is no such thing as orthogonal time. Orthogonal or right-angle time is the topic of my speech. We are accustomed to supposing that all change takes place along the linear time axis, from past to present to future. The present is an accrual of the past and is different from it. The future will accrue from the present on and be different yet. That an orthogonal or right-angled time axis could exist, a lateral domain in which change takes place,
Long before terms like simulation hypothesis or constructed reality entered mainstream discussion, Dick was already exploring worlds where perception could not be trusted.
processes occurring sideways in reality, so to speak. This is almost impossible to imagine. How would we perceive such lateral changes? What would we experience? What clues, if we are trying to test out this bizarre theory, should we be on the alert for? In other words, how can change take place outside of linear time at all, in any sense, to any degree? Let me present you with a metaphor. Let us say that there exists this very rich patron of the arts. Every day on the wall of his living room above his fireplace, his servants hang a new picture, each day a different masterpiece, day after day, month after month. Each day the used one is removed and replaced by a different and new one. I shall call this process change along the linear axis. But now let us suppose the servants temporarily running out of new replacement pictures. What shall they do in the meantime?
And where technology blurred the line between the real and the artificial. His work treated reality not as a fixed constant, but as something fragile.
You can't just leave the present one hanging. Their employer has decreed that perpetual replacement, that is to say, changing the pictures, is to take place. So they neither allow the current one to remain, nor do they replace it with a new one. Instead, they do a very clever thing. When their employer is not looking, the servants cunningly alter the picture already on the wall. They paint out a tree here, they paint in a little girl there, they add this, they obliterate that, they make the same painting different, and in a sense new, but as I'm sure you can see, not new in the sense of replacing it. The employer enters his living room after dinner, seats himself facing the fireplace, and contemplates what should be, according to his expectations, the new picture. What does he see? It certainly isn't what he saw previously.
At the time, much of the scientific community viewed Dick as a brilliant storyteller, but an unreliable thinker.
But also, it isn't somehow, and here we must become very sympathetic with this perhaps somewhat stupid man, because we can virtually see his brain circuits striving to understand. His brain circuits are saying, yes, it is a new picture, it is not the same one as yesterday, but also it is the same one, I think. I feel on a very deep intuitive basis, I feel that somehow I've seen it before. I seem to remember a tree, though, and there is no tree. Now, perhaps if we extrapolate from this man's perceptual, mentational confusion to the theoretical point I was making about lateral change, you can get a better idea of what I mean. I mean, perhaps you can, to at least a degree, see that although what I'm talking about may not exist, my concept may be fictional, it could exist. It is not intellectually self-contradictory. Contemplating this possibility of a lateral arrangement of worlds,
His later life mystical experiences, claims of higher intelligences, and metaphysical revelations caused many academics to dismiss him as unstable rather than visionary.
a plurality of overlapping Earths along whose linking axis a person can somehow move, can travel in a mysterious way from worse to fair to good to excellent. Contemplating this in theological terms, perhaps we could say that herewith we suddenly decipher the elliptical utterances which Christ expressed regarding the kingdom of God, specifically where it is located. He seems to have given contradictory and puzzling answers. But suppose, just suppose for an instant, that the cause of the perplexity lay not in any desire on his part to baffle or to hide, but in the inadequacy of the question. My kingdom is not of this world, he is reported to have said. The kingdom is within you, or possibly it is among you. I put before you now the notion, which I personally find exciting, that he may have had in mind that which I speak of as the lateral axis of overlapping realms, which contain among them a spectrum of aspects ranging from the unspeakably malignant to the beautiful.
His questions were considered too speculative, too subjective, and too untethered from empirical method.
And Christ was saying over and over again that there really are many objective realms, somehow related, and somehow bridgeable by living, not dead men, and that the most wondrous of these worlds was a just kingdom in which either he himself or God himself or both of them ruled. And he did not merely speak of a variety of ways of subjectively viewing one world. The kingdom was and is an actual different place at the opposite end of continua, starting with slavery and utter pain. It was his mission to teach his disciples the secret of crossing along this orthogonal path. He did not merely report what lay there. He taught the method of getting there. But, tragically, the secret was lost. The enemy, the Roman authority, crushed it, and so we do not have it. But perhaps we can re-find it, since we know that such a secret exists.
Science favored equations and experiments. Dick offered paranoia, doubt, and thought experiments wrapped in narrative.
Kingdom is ever to be established here on earth, or whether it is a place or state we go to after death. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that this issue has been a fundamental one and an unresolved one throughout the history of Christianity. Christ and St. Paul both seem to say emphatically that an actual breaking through into time, that is specifically what they say, a breaking through into time, into our world, by the host of God, will unexpectedly occur. Thereupon, after some exciting drama, a 1,000-year paradise, a rightful kingdom will be established, at least for those who have done their homework and chores and generally paid attention, have not gone to sleep, as one parable puts it. We are enjoined repeatedly in the New Testament to be vigilant, that for the Christian it is always day. There is always light by which he can see this event when it comes. See this event. Does that imply that many persons who are somehow asleep or blind or not vigilant, they will not see it even though it occurs?
As a result, his ideas lived largely outside formal scientific discourse, while quietly influencing generations of thinkers on the margins.
It's just so fascinating that people can't see this.
I mean, I invite people to do their research. The more they do their research, the more they will see that what I'm saying is absolutely true. It's like, just do the research.
Yeah. It's such a bad idea, even for the Democrats, which is what they don't understand. Like, it's the same
it's not
people.
ultimately going to work out.
No, it's the same people.
Yes.
It's just they're doing it under the guise that they're the kind, compassionate, progressive people.
Yes.
But the same outcome takes place. It's just about control. They probably institute some central bank digital currency and some social credit score system. And then you're
censorship,
fucked.
of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, that was the big fear coming into this election, was that if they can't censor things like... we talked about it before, but there was two major forks in the road. The big one was Trump didn't get shot.
Yep.
The other big one was you buy Twitter.
Yeah.
And if those two things don't happen, the whole world looks different.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't want to be on that timeline.
No, we don't want to have only one side represented, because guess what? They will hijack that side, whatever it is. They will hijack that side and use it for money and control, and that's what it's all about.
It's a system designed to maintain dependence, he added, not to empower citizens.
I mean, I think these things are actually, it's easy to understand if you look at basic incentives. The basic incentive here is the more illegals that the Democrats can bring in, the more likely they are to win. So that's what they're going to do. That's what they have been doing. And it worked in California. California's supermajority Dem. And look at all the companies that are leaving California.
Yeah.
I mean, In-N-Out just announced they're leaving.
Yep.
Their headquarters leaving California.
They're moving to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and California made healthcare free for illegals.
Yeah.
As of last year. So, and that obviously that's a gigantic magnet for more illegals. And this is not a thing you can solve simply with money, because what happens is you simply have more patients than a doctor can possibly see.
Immigration should be a bonus, not a crutch, Musk said. If you're building a civilization, you have to invest in your own people first. Otherwise, you're just renting talent, and rented talent doesn't stay forever.
And you can't just, make doctors out of nothing. So sometimes people are like, oh, it's just a money thing. No, it takes a long time for somebody to become a doctor. 30 years. And so what actually happens in California is that there are too many patients for the doctors to see. So then the average citizen in California suffers as a result. Now, the elite in California are fine because they have private doctors. They can just pay for the best doctors. So the elite in California are doing fine, but your average citizen in California is not doing fine. And the tax burden for healthcare for illegals was supposed to be $3 billion. I think they now estimate it's $9 billion. But that number will scale to infinity, basically. It's like, why not?
The episode ended with Musk calling for a complete redesign of the medical education model, including the integration of AI in diagnosis and treatment.
Right. Why not, if you need any operation at all, come to California and have it be free.
Right.
From anywhere on earth.
And the people that want to look at it in the most charitable way, they say, oh, well, these people are hardworking, good people, and they're the backbone of our city, and they should have access to all the things that we have access to. And I just don't think they understand that it's a political pawn. I don't think they understand.
It's a political game.
This is not done for compassion and kindness.
No.
This is just done to ensure that it stays blue.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's essentially a bribery with your tax dollars.
Yes, this is why the Dems will not even deport criminals.
Yeah.
Because every criminal deported is a lost vote. So even if somebody is an illegal with a criminal record and commits crime in America, they are still were not being deported.
And then on top of that, California made it actually illegal to ask for ID when people vote.
Yes. California and New York, you are not allowed to show your ID when you vote. I just want to be clear so everyone understands this. In California and New York, you are not allowed to show your ID even if you want to.
Right.
Fast-track training for critical roles and a cultural shift that rewards innovation rather than compliance.
Why would that ever be a good idea?
I mean,
if you wanted to steel man it,
if you're trying to facilitate fraud in elections, it's a great idea.
That's the only reason.
Yes.
There's no other reason logically why that would be a good idea.
It's for fraud. It's like wake up, sheeple, wake up, hello. Like, let's say you wanted to commit fraud. What are the things you would do?
Yeah,
you would say you don't need ID, and you can mail in your ballot,
and we'll give you free health care.
Yes.
Stay here.
Yes.
Stay here. I know it's on fire, but stay here.
I mean, in this case, it being on fire is not just a metaphor in California. Okay, it's just like goddamn. Entire neighborhoods burning down.
It's just once they allowed people to vote that are not legal in California.
You can't be a global leader, he concluded. if you can't take care of your own citizens with your own hands.
If you're going to do that, it's over.
Exactly. There's no coming back from that.
The numbers are just people are so indoctrinated too. There's so many people that no matter what, they think voting Republican means you're an asshole.
Yes.
And they won't do it. They
Yes.
won't do it. They'll put their fucking rainbow flag on their porch and they'll just ride it right into the beach.
Civilizational suicide.
Yeah. Right to the rocks. Bang.
Yeah.
Crash the boat.
I mean, there's a guy who posts on X who's great, Godsad.
Yeah. He's a friend of mine.
Oh,
He's been
he's
on
great.
the podcast a bunch of times.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. It's great.
And he talks about, basically suicidal empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if there's so much empathy that you actually suicide yourself.
Yeah.
So that we've got civilizational suicidal empathy going on.
Musk agreed, warning that an over-reliance on external expertise weakens national resilience and opens the door to long-term systemic decline.
And it's I believe in empathy. I think you should care about other people, but you need to have empathy for civilization as a whole and not commit to a civilizational suicide.
Also, don't let someone use your empathy against you so they can completely control your state
Yes.
and then do an insanely bad job of managing it and never get removed.
The fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. The empathy exploit. They're exploiting a bug in Western civilization, which is the empathy response. So, and I think empathy is good, but you need to think it through and not just be programmed like a robot.
Right. Understand when empathy has been actually used as a tool.
Yes,
The structure is broken, he said. We don't incentivize excellence anymore. We import it. He acknowledged the skill and dedication of immigrant doctors, stating clearly that his criticism wasn't about individuals, but about systems. We're lucky to have them, Musk said. But the fact that we need them this badly is the real problem. It's a signal that our internal engine is failing.
it's weaponized empathy is the issue.
Yeah.
Weaponized empathy. And yeah.
And it's also the rigid adherence to that liberal ideology. Like, you can't switch sides over there. Like California, if you're a part of that whole tech, Hollywood, entertainment, any of those circles, you're on the left.
Yeah.
Like, almost wholly. Almost
It's-
completely.
It's borderline illegal to be a Republican in California. In San Francisco or LA, it's borderline illegal to be a Republican.
You're certainly shunned.
No,
Yeah.
in San Francisco, you could shoot heroin while taking a dump on the mayor's car in front of City Hall, okay, and nothing would happen to you. But if you walk down the street with a MAGA hat, you're gonna get attacked.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's also so Orwellian that a hat that says "Make America Great Again" would cause people to have a violent reaction. Like, aren't you American? Wouldn't just as a whole, like the saying, wouldn't that be a good thing for everyone? Make America great again.
Yes.
But because it's attached to Donald Trump and that red hat, you'll get maced for wearing that red hat.
They're barriers to innovation, collaboration, and long-term growth.
And
No-
they
no
also
hard
cremated
drives.
his body
Gone.
gone.
Like that. Yeah. Bye. Because who knows what the fuck they gave him to get him to think that he's going to be able to shoot Trump.
So, and there have been other people that have been intercepted on their way to kill Trump. So there's multiple assassins inbound. At this point, he's got like an army protecting him.
Well, this is also part of the problem with the mainstream media saying that he's Hitler. When Joy Reid
Yes,
had that
exactly.
show before the election, she was comparing him to Mussolini, showed Stalin and Hitler.
Yeah,
She pulled it all out.
They're literally saying that like Trump is worse than Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin combined. I mean,
They tried everything.
I think those guys killed 100 million people. So Trump has killed 0 people.